Hello and welcome back to another video, and today, as you can see, we're back on MotoGP 22, but today we're here with a bit of a twist. It's the kind of videos I know you guys absolutely love. It is the time of the year for the mod preview, so every year I always do this. I always make a season mod for the next season, so in this case the 2023 season, and about a month or so before it's released, I do like to do a preview to show you everything I've got so far. Of course, it is work in progress, so it's not finished, it's not released yet, so don't ask for a download link. I'll update the description and the comments with the download link once it's out, but for now, it's not out, so just leave it. But as you can see in the background, we've already got Raul Fernandez on the RNF Aprilia, so that's one thing spoiled already. But we will quickly run through, actually probably all three classes, but to be honest, there's not much done on Moto2 and Moto3 yet, very, very little. So of course, we'll start off with the MotoGP class first. We've got Fabio and Franco, they're not edited at all, neither is Pecco Bagnaia. But the first change you can see here, we've got Enea Bastianini on the factory Ducati for 2023. He's had an absolutely stellar season on the Gresini Ducati and rightfully deserves the promotion in my opinion. It is a bit of a shame for Jorge Martin, to be honest, because I do quite like Jorge Martin. I think he had a really good rookie season, but this year's been a bit rough for him, so you could definitely see why Bastianini has been picked. So you can see I've done everything. I've even done the hat for him there. Put his number on the hat. I don't know if you can really see that from that angle because it's a 23 on the cap. I may go back and change his boots slightly because I've still got the current boots on and they don't really match with the factory Ducati, where as you can see I've changed the gloves, for example. So I may do something similar where I actually change the colour of his boots before the release, but for now they are that colour. And then obviously you've got Marc Marquez, he's still in Repsol Honda. But then we've got a new teammate for him, Joao Mir. Now for him I've actually had to do pretty much everything. The boots I think are still the default because I didn't have any blue on. You can see I've done him a new helmet, I've done him a new set of gloves. Well, I've just edited the existing ones, to be fair, I've not made one from scratch. Of course he's got the Day and Easy suit, so basically Poliswagger suit redone. Well, just rebadged, so you've got obviously the Mir logo on the back and the AGV logo. But I've got to say, Mir does definitely suit this. Red Bull on the side of the helmet as well. All the Suzuki and Monster logos removed because, of course, he's with Repsol Honda and they're sponsored by Red Bull. So it's not going to have Monster or Suzuki logos. The next transfer then we've got is Jack Miller. And again, to be fair, he suits the bike quite well. I thought this about Mir. Well, to be honest, all three so far actually suit it quite well. I think it's because I've kind of done all the assets. So obviously it does look pretty good. The 43 though on the front of the KTM actually really fits in. Just the colours of them. Obviously I've not even adjusted the colours. But I feel like it just matches really well. I don't know what anybody else thinks about that. But I think that 43 just looks really nice on the front. I've also changed his helmet a bit. You can see the colours here. So usually it was a bit of a bluish colour. But now it's a bit more like black, a bit more like the other Red Bull riders. Like the actual Red Bull official riders, like the IO riders or the KTM official riders in the MotoGP class. So I've just tried to match the colour there. But of course he was already Red Bull affiliated. So I already had that logo. And we got the butt patch done for him as well. So they're going to actually change the boots a little bit, like I said, with Bastianini, because you can see, of course, they're still red, whereas I've already done the gloves, for example. I've taken the red off those, and it does match a little bit better, so that's something I might consider doing. Maybe even just making them orange rather than red. Don't have to, obviously, go with the sort of black-purple colour. Again, that's just something I'll have to think about, because the boots, I think, do get neglected a little bit sometimes, so I'll keep my eye out for those, and maybe I'll change them if I get a bit of time. Now, we've got two teams here that are not changed at all. Obviously, got the factory Aprilia, although I suppose Maverick Vinales has a different number that's carried over from Project 22. And then Zarco and Martin, of course, are staying in Pramac, so no changes there. But this is probably the biggest team change of them all. Obviously, RNF Aprilia, two new riders, and a new bike as well. Previously Yamaha. So we'll have a look at Miguel Oliveira first up. You can see the livery is pretty much the regular, well it is the regular Aprilia livery with all the logos removed aside from sort of the Aprilia and the Piaggio group ones. And then the colours are just changed to match the RNF colours. I was going to create the RNF livery on this bike, but because they lost With You and I don't know what other sponsors they might lose, I just thought it'd just make more sense to do this. Because I'd actually be quite surprised if they didn't turn up with something that looked like this in the post-season test. You can see I've done a similar thing for the suit as well. Again, it's basically just the regular suit, just recoloured. And therefore it matches quite nicely in my opinion. I actually quite like it. I really like the blue and the orange on the Aprilia as well. And just on the suit in general, I think that just looks really neat. I actually really enjoy it. And again, the 88 on the front kind of suits the rest of the colour scheme because it's got the blue in the middle, which obviously he already had. Then, of course, we've got his teammate Raul Fernandez. You did get a sneaky preview of that earlier on, because it is in the background of the menu, because obviously it just picks a random bike to display in the menu. And again, the exact same, obviously, bike here, but the suit, again, it is modified from the Aprilia one. I did think about just leaving the RNF suit in this case, but I thought, make the suits all match. So I've actually done all of the suits, even the custom ones. So I'll probably show the custom suits when I actually get around to the team. I also probably need to edit Raul's hat as well now, because I made it with you back when they hadn't lost with you yet, whereas obviously now they have. So I think we'll have to change the hat maybe to a Red Bull hat, a bit like Oliveira's. So next up then, of course, we've got Nakagami, no changes there, but then on the other side of the garage, the LCR Honda Castrol side, we've got Alex Rins finally riding a different bike other than Suzuki in MotoGP, because of course Suzuki left. And again, I just feel like the colour schemes for a lot of these riders kind of line up. I suppose it's just because the colours of the bikes are all fairly similar nowadays, almost in some aspects. But I feel like the orange goes pretty well with the sort of the red and the blue of the LCR Honda bike. The 42 looks really good on the front of the Honda as well. I feel like the sizing of some of the numbers just kind of fits the rest of the bike. Don't know if that makes sense. And you can see, of course, he's got a monster hat, whereas before he had a Suzuki hat. Also put the Estrella Galizia logo, that's a personal sponsor of his, on the side. And it also works pretty well because it is a personal sponsor of Alex Marquez, so I got to keep that on the suit and keep the colours that came with it. Now next up we've got the Grassini. As you can see, of course, it does say Decimus Adichie 22. I actually forgot to mention this on the other two Ducati teams. It says 23 on the factory team, 23 on the Pramac. It also says 22 on the Grassini and 22 on the VR46 Ducati. Now, when the mod comes out, it's going to have a different model. It is going to have the 22 model, but for now, the Grassini livery isn't actually finished on that model yet, and I know I'm running out of time, but eventually my plan is to update all of the Ducatis to have the 22 model, so that it's as recent as possible. Obviously, Di Gianantonio, he's not edited at all because of that, but obviously we've got Alex Marquez on the other side of the garage. Now, the suits are literally identical. Obviously, I've changed the gloves and the butt patch, but they both use Shoei. They're both riding from the same team. I think I removed the Italian sort of federation logo because obviously Alex Marquez isn't Italian. I know the team is, but it's just something that's worn by Italian riders. So I removed that. This is one that I'm not such a big fan of. I feel like the number on the front doesn't quite work. I feel like the colours are a little bit off now. I might try and adjust that to make it look a bit better, but for me, I feel like the white is too bright and it doesn't really match the rest of the white on the bike, even though I tried to do that. So it's something I might have to go back and try and edit maybe before the mod is released. But of course, since I'm changing the model anyway, I've not really worried too much about it because I'll have to redo the texture when that model swap is complete. So then next up, we've actually got kind of a new team, but not really. It's just Tech 3 rebranded as the Gas Factory Racing Team. And I do have to say, first of all, I've not actually made the livery for this. I've put the numbers on it, of course, but the base livery is not made by me. It's made by Gorioris. I really hope I pronounced that right, by the way, because I actually never heard it pronounced, but you might have heard of him. He's a pretty famous MotoGP Indonesian YouTuber, so a big thanks for allowing me to use it. He messaged me when I was putting some work in progress screenshots up saying, oh, make sure to use my gas livery, so I was like, fair enough, because that saves me a lot of time having to make it, and it's a high quality livery as well. Again, it's something I might remake on a different model, because the factory KTM does actually have a different model, but again, because of last year, how late the mod came out, I don't want a repeat of that, so I'm trying to minimise livery work, because that's what takes me the longest, and then I can go back and update it, so maybe by January or something I'll have a different model. Now, the suits also need editing, I'm aware of that. Currently, they are literally just red versions of the regular Tech 3 suits. I just need to replace basically Tech 3 KTM with Gas, and then that'll be pretty much good to go. So I've actually made custom hats for this team as well, based on the real Gas hats that I saw. They always seem to wear those hats rather than actually Red Bull hats or anything like that, so that's why I've gone with the Gas hat. But again, I may change that in the future if it is seen that they're not wearing Gas hats all the time. But I've got to say, Pol Espargaro back on a KTM is an interesting prospect, and to be honest, I think it suits him. And next up then, we've got Augusto Fernandez, or as you can probably see right now, tanned Remy Gardner. Now that's, I tried to sort of make a custom face for him on the Gardner model. It doesn't really resemble Augusto Fernandez in any way at all. I was trying to make one that looked like him, but you can see it just doesn't. So I'm going to change his face before the mod comes out. You'll see the same kind of thing with the suit here once again. It's actually Danilo Petrucci's suit from MotoGP 21 modified, but again, they hadn't changed the Tech 3 livery, so it still fits perfectly. So obviously no point making a new Revit suit when there's one already made. I may redo the shoulder pads because they just look kind of wrong. I don't know why they're so shiny, and no other Revit suit has them. It was only ever Petrucci that had those, so I might redo the shoulder pads, but other than that, I think that can be used as a base. And again, I'll just take off the KTM logos and put Gas on there. And then, of course, finally, you've got the VR46 team, which, again, currently has no change. Like I said, I will be updating the model to be the GP22 for Bezzecchi as well. But for now, that's not actually implemented, so no change on that team whatsoever. And of course, the elephant in the room, there's no Suzuki team. You can see it's completely removed from the game. If we actually go over to the factory teams section, you'll see it's also completely removed from the game. It's just not there at all. So you can still use it in the customized team section. As you can see here, the Suzuki is here, and I intend to keep it that way. So you can still ride the Suzuki in career mode with your custom team, but the official Suzuki team is completely gone. Now, there is a little bit of a bug here with the Monster Energy Yamaha. I need to remember to fix that. In fact, I actually might take a screenshot of that now so that I remember to fix it, because I think it's to do with what I've done with the RNF bike. I think they use the same custom number placement. So I think when I changed the RNF Yamaha, it's also changed the Monster Energy Yamaha. Now, of course, in terms of teams, there's not really any changes till you get to the RNF Aprilia. You can see we've got a new logo for it, based on one that they put on Instagram. That was before they lost With You, so it was just a With You RNF logo, basically, but with red. So instead, I've replaced the With You with the RNF logo, put Aprilia in the middle, and I actually quite like it, to be honest, so I hope they go with something like that. I think it actually looks like a pretty good logo. And you can see here, for example, you can see obviously the custom bike completely works, the suit is there as well, and if I actually go and customize the rider, you'll see that there's also a Dainese suit made. In terms of the rest of the teams, obviously there's not really any change again until you get to the Gas team, which similarly is just rebadged KTM Tech 3. But again, I'll replace all the KTM logos. To be honest, I've kind of neglected doing that. I keep thinking, oh, I'll work on this part of the MotoGP class and this part, and I've actually forgotten to go back and do the Tech 3 logos, because initially I just wanted to see how it looked in game with the bike, because I wanted to test the bike, see what that looked like, and the bike looks great. Now, I've actually decided not to show you Moto 2 and Moto 3. I did initially plan on doing that, to be honest, and I did start to go through and show them all off, but half the riders were just the riders already in the team with a different name, and it just looked a bit weird and confusing, so I kind of decided not to bother, because it's kind of pointless showing you. It's just a waste of time. It makes the video longer for no reason. So I think I might actually just show you the track list, because I was actually going to just do a race, and I actually realised I've changed the track list very slightly. So I've updated the order to match the 2023 season. Probably need to change that text there if I can. But we've got Portimao first, and Argentina, Texas, Jerez, Le Mans, Mugello, Sachsenring, Netherlands. Next up is the Kazakhstan Grand Prix. Don't get excited, I've not managed to model a whole track. It is just Kimi-ring, but it's rebadged as a Kazakhstan GP with the Sokol International Racetrack. Then we've got Silverstone, obviously the British Grand Prix. Then we've got the Austrian Grand Prix, followed by the Catalan GP. So Catalonia moves is quite late in the year. It's actually the slot that World Superbikes usually use, I believe, and I think Superbike are then going earlier in the year. But that's now back-to-back with Misano rather than Aragon, which is usually the one that back-to-backs with Misano. Then again, we've got the Indian Grand Prix, but of course it's not really an Indian Grand Prix. Obviously it says it's the Bud International Circuit, but it is just Aragon. Fortunately, we kind of lose 2 tracks and gain 2 tracks, so I've been able to rebadge them. I know some people won't like that particularly, because they'll say, oh, why is it not the real Indian Grand Prix? But come on, it's not possible to add a custom track with custom AI and custom grid slots and all the textures and everything like that. It's not possible to do with the tools that we have, so I thought it was just better to rebadge the ones that already exist rather than nothing, because you don't lose any tracks, so you can still play Kimi-ring and you can still play Aragon if you like them, but when it comes up in your career mode, it'll say it's the Indian Grand Prix, or it just matches the real calendars. That's why I've done that. Then you've got Motegi, Indonesia, Phillip Island, Thailand, Malaysia, then Qatar, which is right at the end of the season, followed by the finale in Valencia. Now, of course, Qatar is a bit further back because it's having some renovations done, ready for when Formula 1 arrive, so that pushed it a little bit further back than it should be. But that pretty much brings this video to a close. So I hope you guys have enjoyed that one. Hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. Hope you all stay safe, and I shall see you in the next one.